Rick, appreciate it. We'll be watching as the days roll by. As Dorian appears ready to skirt by the American territory of Puerto Rico, if not hit somewhere around San Juan, President Trump is calling the island one of the most corrupt places on earth. He added that, by the way, he's the best thing that ever happened to Puerto Rico. Those clearly are opinions as opposed to facts. The president also repeating his false claim about the aid that Puerto Rico has received. Here's his tweet from yesterday. Wow, yet another big storm heading to Puerto Rico. Will it ever end? Congress approved $92 billion for Puerto Rico last year, an all-time record of its kind for anywhere. That is decidedly not true. We checked with sources, including the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, and the latest numbers show that as of the end of June, the federal government has allocated $42.7 billion for Puerto Rico. Of that, about 21 billion is binding. In other words, Congress has to pay it. And of that, Puerto Rico has received less than $14 billion. So $14 billion or less, not $92 billion. That $92 billion is actually an estimate of how much money the island could need in the decades to come. The president also claimed it's an all-time record for anywhere. It is not. In 2014, the Congressional Research Service estimated that Congress provided roughly $120 billion for the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, which devastated the Mississippi coast and flooded New Orleans. There's another piece to this as well. As the storm threatens both Puerto Rico and potentially the east coast of Florida and, who knows, Georgia up the shore, we don't know yet, the Trump administration is diverting money from disaster aid to the southern border, hundreds of millions of dollars at the peak of hurricane season. John Roberts reporting. He's live out on the North Lawn. Hi, John.
Shep, good afternoon to you. This idea of reprogramming, that is moving money around from one agency to another depending on the need, is something that's happened in each of the past 4 years in regards to the border, going back to the Obama administration. A little less than a month ago, DHS notified Congress that it wants to reprogram a total of $271 million to address the crisis on the southern border. Of that, $116 million would be reprogrammed to put up more single adult detention beds. And here's the point of controversy here. $155 million of that would go to temporary immigration facilities on the southwest border under the new Migrant Protection Protocol, and that money would be reprogrammed from the FEMA Disaster Relief Fund. Now, FEMA told Fox News that that money will come from what's called the Disaster Relief Fund base account, which covers so-called pre-disaster declaration surges. That surge has already occurred in Puerto Rico, where FEMA's prepositioned a lot of supplies. There was $602 million left in that account, and FEMA says taking $155 million for the border will still leave enough to cover any expected pre-disaster surge in the next month when the fund gets replenished again in the new budget October 1st by about $474 million. There is also historical precedent for doing this, and during hurricane season. In August of 2014, the Obama administration reprogrammed even more FEMA and DHS money to address the Central American migrant crisis on the border. It was a total of $405 billion, $267.6 million of that coming from FEMA's Disaster Relief Fund. Other money came from the Coast Guard, TSA, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Back then, Democrats did not complain about it, but they sure are complaining now. The Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer saying, quote, taking these critical funds from disaster preparedness and recovery efforts threatens lives and weakens the government's ability to help Americans in the wake of natural disasters. I talked to them both today, and FEMA and DHS say that's simply not true. It's not going to affect what Chuck Schumer says it will, that there is still plenty of money left in the base account to pre-position any supplies that are needed between now and the end of the year based on historical precedents. And don't forget, the end of the year is September the 30th. There is also a second account in the Disaster Relief Fund called the Majors account. That is the account that actually funds disaster recovery. And FEMA told me moments ago that in that account, there is currently $27 billion. Shep?
John Roberts, live at the White House. Thank you, John. The president has made border security a mainstay of his message, dating back to the campaign with Build That Wall. And Mexico will pay for it, though that last promise is long gone. So far, despite the president's claims to the contrary, there is no new wall. Existing barriers have been replaced with new ones. Same span, not new place. The total of repaired barrier is about 60 miles along that 2,000-mile border, and in some cases with a new wall system, as Customs and Border Protection calls it, new tech and new lighting and that sort of thing, but not in new areas. Also yesterday, the Pentagon approved another 20 miles of wall for Arizona and California. Still, it seems the president wants more progress on his promise. An hour ago, he tweeted that the wall is going up very fast despite obstruction by Democrats. And today, the Washington Post reports the president is telling his aides to use, quote, eminent domain to seize private land and ignore environmental laws. And that he told senior aides that if he doesn't get it done, it would be embarrassing. And when staffers explained that some of his requests would require them to break the law, the paper reports he responded that if anybody gets in trouble, quote, don't worry, I'll pardon you. The Post reports one official told the Washington Post that the president was joking. And just moments ago, the president tweeted that the report is, as he put it, fake news. But the president also said in the tweet that the wall is going up rapidly. It is not. As we just reported, there is no new wall, only replacement for walls which were in need of repair or upgrade. Those are the facts. A string of suspicious deaths at a veterans hospital. A person of interest is now under investigation. Next, we'll report what they found in an autopsy after they dug up a grave. And General James Mattis speaks about his time as defense secretary and what he says America needs to change to protect its people. That's coming up as our reporting continues on this Wednesday afternoon.